Okay, so I was, things moved around, right? Needed a new film. So I decided to check out a joint called Zombie Repellant. It is written and directed by Sean King, who produces it with his son Taylor King. Right? There's not a whole heap of other information in other roles like editing and all of that kind of jazz. So that's all we have on that. The cast, we have got Taylor King as Chad. His wife, his fiance Liz is played by Jada Krueger. There is Shelby Hunstad, who plays Ellie Mae. Um, Her mother, Mrs. Powell, is played by Polly Cassiday Doyle. We have got Ellie's girlfriend, Tommy, played by Bianca Shaw. There's Carl, played by Chad Malen. We got the sheriff, played by DeRosa Jr. There's Clem, played by Tim Cruston. Elise, played by Olivia Rose. Gary the mechanic, played by Scott Petticord. So that is that. The gist of the film: a newly engaged couple breaks down in a small town and discovers the locals are hiding a century-old zombie secret. Dum dum dum. So yes, Zombie Repellant. It is, I guess this is for the people that love a B movie. Right? Again, it's one of those films which you might find on the Sci-Fi Channel late at night. Right? Like fans of what was that recent one we looked at? Cobra Gator, right? Or Gator Cobra, whichever way around it was. Like, it's that kind of thing. If you enjoy that kind of B movie, then Zombie Repellent is probably for you. Now, on their website, right, the New Zealand Sun Films website, it says that Sean and Taylor, a father and son duo that have made, written, directed, and produced 21 films and TV shows. Right, so they've done a lot. They've done a lot of stuff. It does seem to be in the horror field, and from the looks of things, right? I think their kind of thing is horror comedy. That's what it is meant to be. With Zombie Repellent, I guess it's all dependent on the kind of humor that you like, right? I mean, there was a bit at the very start. This is literally at the beginning, right? We have Chad and Liz pull into a gas station, and Chad sent Liz in to pay for whatever reason I do not know, and there's a couple arguing outside, right? And one of which the woman Chad had been eyeing up, and they're arguing because the girl found out that the guy was cheating, and Chad's response is, "Oh, he just needed a better password on his phone." Right, and you could tell that was meant to be a funny line. It just didn't really work. It didn't really work. Like, a lot of it is delivery. Some of it is most definitely the script. And the script, it was rather pedestrian. Like, we don't really have chemistry between Chad and Liz. Right? We don't really have chemistry amongst any of our characters here. Right? Even when you have characters and they're meant to be giving like these speeches, right? There's a bit when Liz is with Carl and he's, giving her the lowdown of all this stuff, and it just comes off very flat. Right? There's not an energy to this film. And you think there needs to be something, right? When you're in a town and there's all zombies, like there needs to be some sort of vibe, and we just don't really get that, right? When they turn up at the kind of house to stay, right? Polly Cassiday Doyle's character, Mrs. Powell, like she's at the door and it's meant to be this intimidating, presence kind of thing, and it just isn't. Right? Sometimes it's all about the length of time you hold the camera on someone. Right? The angle you're shooting them from. And again, it's the dialogue, but it doesn't come off as intimidating. It just came off as slightly odd. Right? It's just slightly odd. And there's a lot of it. Right? When they go to the garage and they're speaking with Tommy, there is this confrontational attitude, but all with a bit of a wooden delivery, so it just doesn't work. And you're also, why? Right? Why would this be confrontational? You're a bit baffled. You know what I mean? It's just like, I'm not quite sure why. What's happening here? And that's the big thing. There's just things that don't really align. Don't really align. There's we get this twist in the film, which I think a lot of times when you get twists and stuff, you're like, fuck, whoa. This one, you're just like, I don't care. Right? Like the big thing being as well, if you factor in what this is, there's a few things that make no sense, like the bedroom scene. Doesn't really make any sense then. You know what I mean? Like there's these things. And also, when you factor in, there's a moment, right, where it's involving Chad, right, and the repellent. And you would just think, well, how, yeah. I mean, that's all I can really say, really. There's a moment, right? There's just these things that don't really add up. Like the bit with the wedding dress. When you factor in the situation they're in, who's doing that? Right? At that moment, you just wouldn't. Like, it's very bizarre. It's like Liz leaving the house at the beginning makes no sense. Right? There are these things that you can see Shauna's done to take the story to a certain place, but there's no logic to those things. Right? The characters' actions need to make some sort of sense. And they just do not. Over and over again, they just don't really add up. So it's just a bit, you're scratching your head. And as I said, there's no chemistry. So there's nothing drawing you to anyone. right? There's no one that you kind of vibe with, that you side with, that you're rooting for. So it then takes away any urgency, any, oh man, I hope they survive. I hope that, you know what I mean, this happens for these people and this, like, you don't care. You don't care. Right? The other big thing, zombies, they make noises, right? And at times these zombies make noises, but then other times, supposedly, you have zombies creep up on people and you're just like, yo, that don't happen, right? Factor in smell, zombie smell, because they're rotting. You know what I mean? Like, even the notion of zombies being trapped somewhere for decades wouldn't make any sense, because what are they feeding on? They would just all basically fall apart. You know what I mean? Like, there's just things in the story which you just like, they didn't really think of this, right? I imagine there was this idea. You'd be like, oh, that would be fun. But they didn't really know how to navigate to that place. You know? And then we just get this weird ending that, again, do you care about? I don't know. But, you know, this could just be me. As I said, if you like a B movie, you know, if you like a Sci-Fi Channel-esque movie, you know, if you liked things like Zombie Cobra, right? We looked at, towards the end of last year, there's a film, The Zombie Wedding, right? If you enjoyed that, I tell you now, you will like this, right? There was another film we looked at last year called The Zombie Apocalypse. If you enjoyed that, you will enjoy this. I mean, that's an action film, right? But in its construction, in its characters, in its story writing, it's aligned with this, right? So if you like those films, right, those three films are a good barometer for the zombie repellent. So if all of those things you were like, yeah, I like that film, oh yeah, that was very good, then people, go check this out. You will be able to find it on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, and I believe it's showing on Plex. I'm not quite sure how you watch things on Plex, but if you know, then you know, and you'll be able to find it there, right? So yeah, you know, I would say, like, the musical beds in this felt a little odd. It's like the music didn't feel integrated into the film. You know, there's a disjointedness about it. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but it's, yeah, I don't know. But you know, people, I'm not a fan of all of that anyway. But yes, Zombie Repellent, it's out now. You can check it out if it sounds like it's for you. You know, it's all about tastes, right? It's all about taste. And give Sean and Taylor props for just doing what they obviously love, and that's making films. Because although it wasn't for me, it's gonna be for some people, right? So, people, Zombie Repellent, it's out now. If it sounds like your kind of thing, then enjoy.